My name is Ryan. My friend Kyle and I have taken our barroom conversations to the internet in the form of Michigan's most up-and-coming sports talk podcast. From baseball to Bigfoot, we cover it all. You're in for a treat because you have found the Turbo and 2K show. What's up, 2K crew? This is Turbo and 2Ks. You know who it is by now. I shouldn't even have to do the introduction, damn it, but I do it anyway because I just like to hear my name and I like to introduce people that are close to me, Mr. 2Ks. And we're coming to you we're recording on Saturday, and for folks that may question our abilities, integrity, all I can say is fuck you, because the weather's beautiful and we're in the studio throwing this down for you guys so that you guys can enjoy your Tuesday morning commute or whenever you listen to this. So you're welcome. You're welcome. We go hard in the paint like that. So, but to start off, I did want to, well, actually, let me get Mr. 2Ks in here. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
Well, you were basking by the pool today, so I had to drag you from the pool. So even more.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a beautiful day out. Had actually a little bit of a breeze. So we weren't sitting in our own sweat. And
I'm fat. I sweat anyway. So.
And had a few adult beverages today, so
it's a rule, isn't it? If you're by water, you have to have a beverage. Right?
It only seems right. It's
kind of like at the golf course, beverage in hand.
Yes.
Bowling, beverage in hand.
Everything's better when you have a beer in your hand.
Cornhole tournament, or even cornhole with your family, especially with your family, beverage in hand.
Yes. Yeah.
But 2K crew, one thing I did want to do is give some pub and a shout out to a couple upcoming golf outings. And the first one came to me via not only my friend but an avid 2K crew listener, Mr. Josh Enos. And Josh sent me over a flyer for his father-in-law that passed away last year, and they're doing a memorial golf outing. And he asked me if I would take. First of all, he asked me if I'd sponsor, and I said, well, the least I can do is give you some pub on the podcast so that get the word out there. And it's the first annual Steve Crow Memorial Golf Outing. It's being held Saturday, July 13th at Indian Run Golf Course. And looking at the flyer here, the proceeds are going to go to a college fund for Steve's grandsons, Caleb and Noah. And if you want more information, you can either message me and I'll send you the flyer, or you can contact Angie McCormick with questions. Her phone number is 269-303-1466. And either call or shoot her a text, and she'll probably forward this on to you or be able to answer any questions. And there is no price per golfer on this. It says whole sponsors are $100. Dinner and entertainment tickets are $25, and they're looking for silent auction donations. So if any of that is up your alley, or if you don't have any plans July 13th, like I said, either shoot me a message and I'll get you the information, or contact Angie. And lastly, this one has a very special meaning for myself and Mr. 2Ks. I'm pretty sure I haven't missed one of these. Have you?
I don't remember the last time I would have. I can remember playing in about the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, and it's the Gerald and Danny Motter Memorial Golf Outing. That is going down August 3rd. Shotgun to start, and this is at Pineview. At least I believe it's always been at Pineview. Shotgun to start at 8:45. $50 a golfer, 4-man scramble, luncheon to follow. I don't have the specifics on where the luncheon is, since tailgaters closed. That's normally in the past where they've done it. But so we will keep you informed with that, and all the proceeds for this go to the American Heart Association. And the registration sheets and the flyers should be in my hot little hands in the next couple days. I will put it on the 2K crew group. Actually, I should probably post that the first flyer on there. What do you think?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get both of those on there, and we're trying to plan myself, 2Ks, Christian, and probably our senior golf analyst, Mr. Jacob Berg. Hopefully, he'll be able to join us as a foursome in that outing. So that's going to be exciting. So if you want to see some good golf between Jake and 2Ks. I've never seen Christian golf.
It's not pretty. It's not pretty at all.
So what you're saying is I probably won't be the worst golfer in the foursome.
Well, the problem with Christian is if he would just swing and finish his swing and play the ball that he's playing, it would probably be fine. But the problem, he's reaching for the second ball in his pocket before he even finishes his swing. So, yeah. You got to, every time you play with him, you just got to bank on about him getting about 40 mulligans around.
Oh, so, yeah. I mean,
and I still beat him.
I only usually take one a hole, so.
Yeah. Well, he definitely gets his money's worth on the course. I'm going to put it that way.
I want as many swings as I can, get my money's worth. But yeah, 2K Crew, if you guys need any more information, you know what to do. Either post a question in the Facebook group, or get at me, or send us an email at turboand2ks@gmail.com. All right, so enough of that. And I really wish we could say enough with NBA basketball.
Yeah.
But you know what? My heart is kind of smiling. Because, hopefully it's almost over.
I feel like this probably isn't going to be the last week we get to talk about it, but next week, I think we're going to be finally in the clear. We don't have to talk NBA anymore until at least the draft.
Yeah, which the draft is always kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's always kind of fun. But then hopefully after that, we don't have to talk basketball
for a while.
Yeah, until it gets cold. But yes, if you guys are living in a closet or under a rock, the Raptors are one game away from an NBA championship.
The Raptors look good. I mean, they look good.
And if you guys didn't catch any of Game 4, Clay was back.
Mm-hmm.
KD was not. Now that the series is 3-1, I'm sure that there's every sports analyst and every basketball analyst is saying, "Oh my God, you need to bring KD back. You need to bring KD back. He's going to be come in as the Cape Crusader and just save this whole goddamn season." I don't see it.
No.
I really, really don't. And what could you expect from a dude that hasn't played a game in a month?
No, and just looking at it from KD's point, he's not going to be in Golden State next year. He's leaving. He's gone. He's already played his last game in Golden State. He's not coming back.
Him and Kyrie are going to the Nets.
You think so?
Well, the Nets made a pretty big trade that opens up yet another. They open up enough cap room to get the second max contract.
See, I think Kyrie is going to go to the Nets, but I think KD ends up with the Knicks when it's all said and done.
The one thing that I did not know was what it's either the majority owner of the Nets or one of the subsidiary owners owns like the Asian equivalent of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So what better way to make your brand worldwide than going there and getting your shit put in front of everyone's face? Mm-hmm. Obviously not in the US, but Kyrie's got his Nike, or I think he's Nike.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so his name is pretty much synonymous with basketball. I mean, he's not someone that needs any pub in the United States. And LeBron went to LA to do his thing. I could totally see one, if not both of them, especially since, like I said, they made, I can't remember what the hell the trade actually was. Not that it makes a huge difference because it's the fucking Nets, but it wouldn't surprise me if both of them, or Kyrie at least, but with all the other free agents, they're bound and determined. They're being proactive instead of reactive. And so it's gonna, that's one of those teams in the offseason. Keep an eye on them because I think they're going to be movers. Mm-hmm. They're going to be shakers. So, whether it's going to equate to a good product on the court, who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
See, I think Kyrie ends up with Brooklyn, but I think KD goes to New York, and I think it's when we get done with this. When we get done with the draft, I think what's going to happen is there can't be any trades until the finals are complete.
Right.
So I think what happens is and I'm predicting this now, and I know that you guys have probably heard it from other people, but I thought this a long time ago also, and I've been hearing it more from big names out there. I think that the Knicks pull out a trade with the Pelicans and send the third pick over for Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis and KD are going to team up with the Knicks, and then you're going to have your Zion and your RJ Barrett starting off with the Pelicans. That's the way I see it happening.
And hopefully their career doesn't die as a Pelican.
That's kind of the problem with the Pelicans is I think you die off.
Well, I think we can both agree that hopefully Zion goes there rather than Phoenix, because that's, you're in the desert, bro. People go in the desert all the time and don't come back. I think Larry Fitzgerald's the only one that's lived there long enough to actually talk very, very, very good about it. So, but yeah, getting back to the actual series, Toronto's up 3-1, and like we talked about last week, it's always that when is Golden State going to make that run? Mm-hmm. When are they going to flip the switch? When is it going to happen? Because they're in that 10-point window that we've all become accustomed to them. You're like, all right, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. And most of the time, all it takes is either Clay, Steph to get hot and just start draining threes, or drain a three, get a turnover or miss bucket, get it back to him, drain a three, get it miss shot or a turnover. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of 25 seconds, they're on a 9-0 run.
Yeah.
And you can say what you want to about Golden State, but they are the best at doing that I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Aside from Reggie Miller scoring 11 points in like 9 seconds by himself. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's always been their MO. Either they'll demolish you and beat you down, or keep you in the game and just long enough to flip that switch. And then next thing you know, when you were up by 10, you're down by 12. Yep. You know, it's almost reminiscent of a college game, because college games are all about runs. And I mean, we talked about that during the NCAA tournament. And that's one of those things where if you can stop them from doing that, or keep them or limit them to like a 5 or 6 point outburst, you got a shot. Mm-hmm. And Toronto's defense is so good. Mm-hmm. They are so fast, so long. And they actually, and it's not just one dude. It's not just Kyrie playing defense out his ass. It's everybody. Mm-hmm. It is everybody. Mm-hmm. And even Gasol shutting down Boogie Cousins. And when he's not in, kind of keeping Draymond at bay. And
that's the thing with Toronto, and Christian, when he was here a couple weeks ago, touched on it, is their depth. They are so deep. They can almost rotate in 5 guys, and you really can't tell a whole lot of a difference. And you see that with Golden State now, is they still have a lot of the same guys that have been there through this long haul of all this success that they've had, but they're all aging. Everybody that they bring off the bench, they're aging. They're getting older. They're not, Iguodala is not the same guy now that he was 4 or 5 years ago.
Sean Livingston's the same way.
Yes, I mean they're just not what they used to be. And the thing that hurts Golden State is, all their starters are basically the same. All their stars are basically the same. But they brought Kevin Durant over here a couple years ago, and they learned to play around Durant. And when things
through him,
yes, exactly. And when you need a big shot or when you need a big play, it's Kevin Durant. I mean, we've talked about it for weeks. He's maybe the best player in the NBA now. Now, when he's healthy, he's maybe the best player. So when you take him off the floor and you don't have him, they don't have that anymore.
No.
And in the Portland series, everything was working, Clay had it going, Curry had it going. Well, right now they can't get it out of both of them. And when Curry's on, Clay's not on. When Clay's on, Curry's not on. They can't find it there. Well, the guy that you can always count on to be consistent and be there is Durant, and he's not there. He's not there. So,
and to go perfectly with your point, last night, it was, everyone was talking about, Clay's going to be tight. His shot's not going to be there. How many minutes is he going to play? Dude, it was out of his mind in the first half. Mm-hmm. Didn't have quite as good of a second half, but still, I want to say he put up at least 30. Mm-hmm. And the game before, Steph put up 40 some, maybe even more than that. And it wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. You know, and he was kind of forced to do that with Clay being out. So you kind of, anyone that even watches basketball knows he's going to have to win the game. Mm-hmm. And where that game came up short is he's the only motherfucker that scored. Everyone else was, I think there's one or two other people in double digits. And guys, I'm just shooting from the hip here. I could be totally wrong. But it seemed like, but if you switch that to Toronto, and they had 7 players in double digits.
Yeah.
Not 2 or 3.
And that's the thing with them. They have so much depth. Like, you know, pretty much every given night what you're going to get out of Kawhi. I mean, and he's your star, so you should know that.
Rightfully so, yeah.
But they got 4 or 5 guys next in line that are ready to go. And when you have Kawhi every single night getting you your 25, 26 points, but then you got 4 guys behind him that are all scoring in double digits also, that makes it easy to win games.
And it not to say that Kawhi couldn't handle that pressure of being the man, because he has all of the makings of being. I mean, he's already an NBA superstar. Let's just throw that out there.
Absolutely.
But it is easier when you don't have to shoulder that burden. You don't have to. There was a meme on Facebook that was it was Steph kind of crying, going, "Oh, I have to do everything myself. This is so hard." And then there was on the bottom of it was LeBron. Yeah. He still had his Cavs uniform on when he drug that team, or drug any number of Cavs teams to the finals, to the playoffs, when they had no right to be there. Period. So. Get over it. Get over it. Move on.
And that comparison is so hard for me because you're talking about Steph Curry being a point guard, and then LeBron is a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. He's 6'8",
promoter, owner, coach.
275, freak athlete. He's just a freak. So when you try to compare Steph Curry and LeBron James, like you can't, you just can't do it.
It's more I kind of liken it to if you were to take Randy Johnson or Greg Maddux, the power, just that nasty hook, that's the aggressive. That's the LeBron.
Yeah.
And then you got the artist or the finesse is more the Steph. Both can win. They just win in different ways.
And it's so funny to see these, now all of a sudden people are ripping on Steph, and talking about how LeBron doesn't have it. Well, over the years, it was the other way around, to where everybody was ripping on LeBron because he was whining because he didn't have it. And he never has. He never really had it. Take away the couple years he had in Miami where he has D-Wade and Bosh, but after those two, he really never had anybody around, beyond that. There was no depth on those teams.
Mike Miller, bro. Ray Allen.
Shane Battier.
Shane Battier.
So
second Shane Battier reference of the show.
There's Steph. He has all the depth there is. The problem they're all banged up. You got Kevin Durant, arguably the best player in the NBA, not playing on that team. You got Klay Thompson. Yeah, he was great last night, but he's not healthy.
No.
He's playing through injury right now.
He was even limping in the second half, so we shall see how. Now, again, we've been ripping on the longevity of these finals. I was kind of shocked there was only a day in between, or 2 days, 1 day? Wednesday to Friday, so 2 days. Yeah. Excuse me, 1 day. And it was, and they actually made mention of it. It was the quickest turnaround in the playoffs this year. Oh, what do you know? Every other fucking sport does it like that.
Well, they need, and I've been saying it the whole time. You have to find a way to cut down these playoffs. There's too many games, and when you have a playoff system that's taken 2 months, you have a problem. Whether it's shortening up the series, or maybe dropping 2 teams and only having 6 teams go to the playoffs, or figure it out. But you're losing. You're losing so many fans because of it taking so long to get to this point.
And it's a shame too, because there's all of these games have been great games, regardless of your fanhood. I mean, they've been extremely competitive down the stretch. No, I mean, the Game 3, what did the Raptors won by like 14.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's not a blowout. Now, when you're talking like 20 and 30, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And Golden State has, I'm not going to say been prone to giving up beatdowns like that, especially at home, which is weird. That never happened before. But it seems to be more of other teams can do that on their floor,
Mm-hmm.
which to me is rather odd.
Mm-hmm.
But no, all of these games, and I have a feeling there's 3 types of NBA fans. Your dedicated hardcore ones, kind of like you and I are with baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I get the argument, I'm sure, all the time. Baseball's so boring. It takes so long. They play so many games. The season's too long. Which, if you actually look at, and that dude, that Oklahoma State dude looks just like me. I pointed out too late. Now it's a commercial. But if you look at the start date, opening day till the end of the playoffs, the potential longest any season can be. Hockey is actually the longest one. And they don't, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they play less than 82 games. So it's, as far as game-wise, the NBA has more.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, baseball has way more.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, so if you're arguing that, check your facts. But no, there's either your, hardcore dedicated enthusiast. There's your, I pay attention to my team, and then and you get it with every sport, your playoff fans. Mm-hmm. They don't care what happens in the regular season. Just give me the playoffs, give me the finals. And to be honest with you, when it comes to hockey, aside from this year, for whatever reason, I did not get the hockey bug this year.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to touch on too, as far as talking about hockey and I'm not going to sit here and spout off like I know anything about hockey, because I really don't. But if there's a sport that needs to take time during the playoffs and guys that need days off,
it's them. It's
hockey. That sport, you talk about physically demanding. That's like playing NFL, and you instead in the NFL it's one game. Mm-hmm. But in hockey, they go through an entire series. So if you talk about a playoff system that needs time, these guys in the NBA, they don't need 3-4 days to bounce back for the next game. Now, if you want to argue that hockey wise, yeah, you could probably use that 3 or 4 days to bounce back for the next game, even though they don't get that amount. Right. They could use that time, and
if you look at the sports just in general, that's the only sport that you only play, like a player plays, if you play a 3-minute shift, that's a long shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've played indoor soccer before, and it's the same way, because you're moving all the time. Yeah. There's no, especially on skates, because very rarely are you in one spot. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're either coasting along or you're getting after it. Yeah. And so, yes, that I have, and when you're talking hockey fans, there's some die-hard hockey fans. Mm-hmm. I mean, and they...
People that... And you know what? And I apologize to any of our listeners that are those die-hard hockey fans, because we don't talk about it much. And I think it's not that... For me, at least, it's not that I have anything against hockey, because I like to watch it here and there.
I'd love to go to games.
Yes. It's just I don't have any knowledge in hockey. So I choose not to really talk about it, because I don't want to talk about something that I don't know anything about and then have people just... 2K is talking out his ass. He don't know anything. I don't. I'll be the first one to admit I don't know much about hockey. Do I respect what those guys do? Hell yes. Those guys are fucking badasses.
No, I think too, kind of one of the reasons why I didn't catch the bug this year, and it's always, some years I watch, 80% of the Red Wings games. I mean, it's Fox Sports Detroit, and for 25 years they were in the playoffs. Oh, and we got very, very spoiled. And I'm throwing my fandom into the Red Wings fan. And now, I mean, there's which is sad, because they just opened the new arena. They aren't that good.
Yeah, Stevie Y back in charge.
But things are looking up, and Dylan Larkin is him and Justin Abelkader and a couple other dudes are about my hockey extent. Mm-hmm. You still have Sidney Crosby over in Pittsburgh and Ovechkin. Mm-hmm. Now that was cool. Watching him celebrate with the Stanley Cup all off season. I want them to win again just to watch him do that again because that man was on probably a 3-month bender, and it's like fuck. Finally,
like drinking his beer out of the cup.
Yeah, I was like, finally, here is a professional athlete that I can relate to. Yes. Man, we could do like beer bongs out of it, man. We could do keg stands out of it. Come on.
And the thing is, like, unfortunately, with hockey is when I was younger, when this is early 2000s, when the Red Wings were the powerhouse of the NHL. They had names that you can go on for days as far as the late 90s and then early 2000s when you got Yzerman, you got Shanahan, and you got the Russian Five, Fedorov and all them.
And they brought in Chelios.
Yes, and that team was amazing. I mean, I watched hockey all the time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those guys all went away, and the Red Wings went to, being mediocre, and that was kind of when I just got off the hockey train and stopped watching it, stopped following it, and I couldn't. Aside from Larkin and a couple other names I could throw off, Cronwall or something, I can't really name off any Red Wing players. I know that they have a lot of young talent coming up, and
very young,
and hiring Stevie Y to come back and be the GM. I hope it's good things. I hope I can say here in 4 or 5 years that I'm following the Red Wings again and getting back into hockey.
Yeah. So 2K fans, don't be hating. Because in 4 or 5 years, when they're good, we'll probably talk hockey.
Yeah.
But no, they kind of, and we hate to, like I said, basketball is not my thing either, but it's kind of, I mean, I would love to talk baseball every week. Mm-hmm. I could do that all day long, 24 hours a day. But I also kind of know that we're trying to make this at least a little bit interesting to our listeners that, quite possibly might not be the biggest baseball fan like we are. But if you guys do remember, last week when we gave our predictions, I predicted that the Raptors were going to win in 6. And hopefully when we get together next week, the Raptors will have won in 5. And you know what? Even though I was wrong on the number of games, I still consider that a win. Especially with my last predictions and everything else, I'm going to ride that one to the bank. And if it happens to go 6, even better. So we'll definitely keep you guys updated on the basketball. Like I said, hopefully I think legitimately, at least I hope. I haven't looked at the schedule. If this does go 7, I'm hoping it'll be wrapped up by next Saturday and we can do a send-off to basketball episode and not have to talk about basketball again until the draft. And, maybe throw in some trade news here and there and stuff like that. So, but yeah, enough fucking basketball. What do you say?
Enough.
What do you say?
Enough.
So, and again, we might sound like a broken record because we're going right from basketball to baseball.
Time. I'm tired of talking like I think I know what I'm talking about.
Well, you know what? You're pulling it off great. So, probably the bigged news of the week in baseball has been the two pitching studs that actually signed contracts. Yeah, we Dallas Keuchel to the Braves, and the Cubs got your closer.
Yeah,
got your closer.
Maybe
Craig Kimbrell. Now, what was kind of shocking to me was not where they went. I was shocked at kind of the contracts. Yeah. I would have expected Keuchel to get a multi-year deal and Kimbrell to get just a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. Kudos to the Cubs for locking him up for 3 years with a player option for 4. But is that the best part about each team getting said pitcher was, in my opinion, it's better than a trade because you don't have to give up any of your prospects. Mm-hmm. And both of those teams have a loaded, well, at least I hope, because they've been keeping, both teams have been bringing people up, and Braves, they've been fucking studs.
The Braves especially have a great farm system coming up. The Cubs, on the other hand, they've kind of dealt away over the last 3 or 4 years.
To get Chapman and fill some voids. So, like I said, in my opinion, this is better than a trade. Mm-hmm. Especially because if you're the Cubs, you get Kimbrell for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have his ups and downs last year? Yeah. But he's in his 30s now. I think by the time the contract's over, he'll be 35, I think. So we shall see where that goes. Well, I've always been a Kimbrell fan going back to when he was with the Braves. Yeah. Always been a huge fan. So hopefully does the Cubs bullpen still need some work? Yeah.
Yeah. But the reason why I really like the deal for the Cubs is, is it a lot of money to throw at a closer that's kind of, he was pretty shaky down the stretch for Boston last year,
especially in the playoffs.
So is it a lot of money to throw to him? Yeah, it is. But the thing with Kimbrell is he's figured out a way to get it done for years and years and years, and he's been considered one of the best closers in the game for years.
Yep.
And I don't know if anybody knows this, but the Cubs aren't going away. They're very, very young. They're not going away for a long time. So
very true.
You have a guy like Craig Kimbrell that you can punch in your bullpen for a team that's going to be good for years and years. They're going to be good for the remainder of his contract. For sure.
By far.
For sure.
By far.
I see it going way beyond that. Mm-hmm. But so you just locked up somebody that's been known as one of the best closers in the game for the last 10 years, and you just locked him up on maybe arguably the best team in the MLB. And they were lacking pitching, but now they addressed that problem. And maybe you can call them the best team in the baseball right now.
There was a lot of I was watching, was it Quick Pitch with, no, it's not, going with Rose and Mr. 1-5.
Intentional Talk.
Intentional Talk, there we go. Yeah. They were talking about how, does this make the Cubs right up there with the Dodgers for being kind of the creme de la creme of the National League. And if you're the Cubs, like I kind of in my mind went through their lineup, and compared the Cubs lineup to the Dodgers lineup. The bad part is both managers change the fucking lineup so much, it's kind of hard to sit back and compare them.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, though, when you have that much depth and you can just keep on changing everything out.
But, I mean, I would take Kimbrell right now, even though he's been off for this long. Obviously, he needs to go down to AAA, work some kinks out. They said they're going to try to get him back up by, I think it was June 20th, to be honest with you. Which to me seems really quick.
He's been throwing, he's in shape.
At least I would hope so.
And the thing is, he's done it for years. It's not like he's a guy that did it for a year or two. He's done it for years. I wouldn't be all that worried about it.
And it's not, there's a couple people that text me and are like, well, would you consider that kind of the same boat, being off-wise as Le'Veon Bell? And I'm like, no. Two very different sports. Mm-hmm. There's don't get me wrong, as a pitcher, there's still room for injury. I would be more worried as a Braves fan with Kimbrell or Keuchel because of just the repetitions, the repetitions. And he says he's been working out, and I think he said California, throwing 7 innings of simulated ball the whole time he hasn't been signed. So both of them, I think, are great additions. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the only thing that kind of shocked me, well, 2 things. The way the contracts were, and Theo Epstein's bald spot. That thing was intense, bro. When I was watching it, I thought it was a yarmulke. With his last name, he might be Jewish. But why are you wearing a yarmulke for Craig Kimbrell to sign his contract? Maybe just came from church or whatever. I don't know. But no, upon further review, wow. It is intense, bro. If you haven't seen it, Google Craig Kimbrell to the Cubs and watch the video, and you'll be like, wow. Wow. And, Theo's not that old.
No,
he's not that old. I mean, his bald spot's bigger than LeBron's. Which to me is like, wow, all right. You have how much money and you can't do some plugs or something?
Something to figure it out.
This is not a good look, Theo. No. But at any rate, that's kind of the big news. And to kind of get back to comparing the Cubs to the Dodgers, I don't know, man. I'm still. It's hard when you look at, if you put Bellinger at first, you take him or Rizzo. Bellinger, obviously.
Yeah, but by throwing him at first, you're either taking Muncy out of the lineup or you're taking Turner out of the lineup.
Yep.
And you absolutely can't do that.
Mm-hmm. So, at least with the Cubs, I mean, he might just throw Chris Bryant in right field, or but yeah, both lineups are very versatile.
Mm-hmm. If I could pick a lineup, I'm taking the Cubs. Now, if I could pick a pitching staff, I'm taking the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And when you get to postseason ball, a lot of times your pitching staff carries you.
Oh, 100%.
So
100%. Now, like I said, the only thing that could sway this is injury, obviously,
mm-hmm.
which that's always a factor. But B is, I think, which 99.9% of me is glad Kimbrell did not end up with the Yankees.
Yeah.
Which there was talk they were going after him hard.
I would have thought the Braves. If you would have asked me a couple weeks ago who I thought Kimbrell would land with, we all knew once we got through the first month of baseball and those two weren't signed, we all knew it was gonna end up being after the draft. Just because you're not going to give up a draft pick for taking on a free agent that we a lot of question marks behind these free agents.
Yeah.
But if you would have asked me a couple weeks ago what I thought, I would have thought with the way that the Braves bullpen's struggling, I thought the Braves would have went more towards, because their starting pitching's been to this point pretty decent. A lot of these young arms coming up, they've been good for them.
They've been fucking amazing.
Yeah. So I would have thought that they would have been going all out to bring Kimbrell back to Atlanta, because their bullpen has been what's kind of been their Achilles heel to that team all season long. And the Cubs have had the same exact problem.
Yeah.
So the Cubs needed to address that also, but the Keuchel to Atlanta deal is kind of a question mark for me. Like I think Kimbrell going to the Cubs was a great addition for the Cubs. Mm-hmm. I think they addressed the problem that they needed. They didn't have to give up anybody for it. But the Braves, that just
My thing with Keuchel is well, the reason that they were talking about on unintentional talk was they were looking for either to do this Keuchel deal or address it in trade, was to bring a more veteran and leadership position into the starting rotation. I mean, you have Julio Teheran, mm-hmm. who 3 or 4 years ago was looked at on the trading block every fucking year.
Yeah.
So kudos to that dude. And, and he's kind of even been a shell of himself, but these young kids, they just keep feeding in there and feeding in there and feeding in there. And it's like, holy shit.
They got 3 or 4 others that we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah. So
that are some of the top prospects in baseball.
So they wanted to address that, and if Keuchel's healthy, he's going to eat innings. Mm-hmm. He's going to save the bullpen. Mm-hmm. Now, are you going to get Cy Young Dallas Keuchel? Who knows? The last couple years has been up and down. I would say mediocre. Mm-hmm. But when you get a dude that is rocking a 13-11 record with the Astros, mm-hmm. a lot of those games had to be close.
Yep.
Because the Astros aren't going to get blown out. And so with that offense, I'd have to go back and look to see the score, obviously. But I'd bet a $5 bill say that they were all pretty close. Mm-hmm. And I mean, hell, he had like a 3.4 ERA. So maybe not Cy Young like he was locked down that year, but a very serviceable. And I want to say it was a $13 million contract, like prorated for $10 million. Mm-hmm. That's not a bad price to take a flyer on a dude. So I think both of them work where they are. Kimbrell, I think, obviously is going to have way more of an impact on his new team than Keuchel will. But the Braves weren't going out and looking for a number one that they're going to drop $25 million a year on. Mm-hmm. That wasn't their intention.
And obviously by going out and getting Keuchel, that tells you that they wanted to get another pitcher. Yep. So they went and addressed the problem, and they didn't have to get rid of anything. And they have the number one farm system of all of baseball, and they didn't have to give up anything to get their guy. So kudos to them for pulling it off.
Yeah, like I said, both of them make sense to me. But like I said, one of them is going to make more of an impact than the other. Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of the draft, if you guys did not know, which the 2K crew is pretty fucking astute. I'll give them that. They've called me out on some stuff when I thought I'm on top of my shit, but nope. They're more on top of it. Maybe they're sitting there with, using their Google food just to kind of bust me out, but either way. But yeah, the MLB draft went down. Was it Tuesday? Monday.
Well, Monday was the first round. It went through Wednesday.
Yeah, and now see, I'm not. This is where like you and Christian get into baseball way more than I do with the farm system, the prospects, the draft, shit like that. But
well, you're a Boston fan, so you don't really worry about your prospects, and I'm a Tigers fan, and Christian's a White Sox fan, so we really worry. We root for more for our prospects than we do for the team that's, playing in the majors.
Yeah, well, that's.
Trust me, I wish I didn't have to pay attention to the draft, but unfortunately, the point that where the Tigers are at right now, I have to get excited about something. So the draft, kind of intrigues me.
And even, I want to say at least in the last year's first round pick, the number 1 overall pick, was it Mize?
Yeah, Casey Mize. Yeah,
I think that was a no brainer.
Yes.
Knock on wood that kid stays healthy because he's been cleaning up in Double-A. It looks effortless to him.
Yeah,
it really does.
Last year's picking him with having the number 1 pick, and he was the no-brainer pick. I think a lot of Tigers fans would have rather seen a position player because we already had quite a bit of depth coming up. But Casey Mize was just a no-brainer. You couldn't pass up on him. So that's who they took. And this year
they had the number 5 pick, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And they took a kid named Riley Green.
Yep. High school.
Out of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm on ESPN's draft analysis website. And they said, who is Green? Green lags behind Witt as an all-around prospect. And if you don't know, you scroll up and Witt was taken
2 to the Royals.
2 by the Royals, yes.
And the Tigers having the 5th pick, I thought that I was happy with who they got. Obviously, I would have rather had the 4 before him, but they were off the board. So who the Tigers ended up getting, you always, every time you draft a high school player, there's a question mark behind it. One, it's going to take, when you take a college player, you can probably bank on maybe 3-4 years to where when you take a high school player, you're maybe thinking 5 or 6 years before you even see him playing in the majors.
And that's kind of one of the things that they go on to say here is that Green's defense is a work in process, but Detroit is betting on a high schooler who could hit for both power and average thanks to great hand speed.
Mm-hmm. And the thing, and watching him in some of his highlights in his videos, for an 18-year-old high school kid, he's got a great swing. But like you said, they're talking about his defense. Well, anytime you have an 18-year-old kid, there's going to be something. Right. There's going to be something that they need to work on. So, he's going to work his way up. It's going to be 5, maybe 6 years before we even see him ever, suiting up as a Tiger. But by the time he ends up suiting up for the Tigers, he's going to be a polished defender. He'll be able to play the outfield. He's not going to be a center field kind of guy, but he's going to play a corner outfield position.
If Justin Upton can play left field,
yeah,
come on now,
yeah, and don't forget, Justin Upton was drafted as a shortstop, so things change. You just because you're drafted and you played shortstop your entire career in high school, there's a good chance you're not going to play shortstop when you get to the MLB.
Well, it's like you and I talked last week about Craig Biggio. Mm-hmm. He was drafted as a catcher. Mm-hmm. Hall of Fame second baseman.
Mm-hmm. And the Royals took the Witt kid with the 2nd pick. And he's another kid coming straight out of high school. Mm-hmm. But the things that they say about him are, he's a more of a you can't miss pick. There's a reason why he went number 2 in the draft. Mm-hmm. They see him for being a shortstop his entire career. A lot of times when you go through these draft reports, you get kids that are coming up as a shortstop in high school or maybe a shortstop even in college. But there's a big difference between playing shortstop in college and high school and playing shortstop, at the major league level. A lot of times kids come up as a shortstop, they turn them into a center field or they turn them into a second baseman because shortstop's a hard position to play.
And a lot of the a lot of the good teams, I mean, that's where, regardless of any team, you know, what level, one of your best athletes plays shortstop.
Absolutely.
Now, when you in high school, you're a big fish in a small pond. You go to college, a little bit bigger pond, a little bit smaller fish. When you get to the majors, you're a very tiny fish in an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So your talent might project there, but a lot of teams they've locked up their shortstops for many years.
But when you look at it in the draft, and you always see, and there's 40 rounds, so you know you're picking, but you see all the time where teams are picking 7 or 8 different shortstops.
Yep.
Why is that? Because if you can play shortstop, you can play anywhere on the field.
You can play anywhere.
So if you can play shortstop, we can make you into an outfielder. We can make you into a second baseman. Maybe slide you over to third base.
Yep. Especially if your power's there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's probably a lot of third basemen that initially started out as.
And at the end of the day, you know, there's very, very, very rare that they, especially these days, that you're gonna get your call up to the majors because you're a defensive specialist. You got to be able to hit the ball.
Yes.
If you can hit the ball, if you can hit, and you can hit for power, they're going to find you a spot, and they're going to make you know, whether it's playing right field, whether wherever, first base, whatever it is. Yep. If you can hit the ball, they're going to find you a spot at the major league level.
And that kind of leads me to the number 1 overall pick, which I'm going to slaughter his name, so I do apologize. Adley Rutschman from Oregon State. He's a catcher. And one of the things that, well, to kind of give you a rundown off the ESPN side, he was the Bryce Harper of this draft. He was the clear number 1 prospect. Dude hit .408 for Oregon State. And he's a switch hitting catcher. And just to kind of give you an idea, and you and I were talking about this before we hit record, that Cincinnati walked him with the bases loaded in the NCAA regional matchup last week. So, yes, the dude can rake.
I haven't seen that since Barry Bonds.
Yeah. Or when I come up in slow pitch softball.
You know, that's the highest bit of respect that anybody can see right there. I mean, if you're getting walked with the bases loaded, they're gonna bring in a run just to keep you from driving in 3, 4.
Yeah.
You know, that's respect. So that tells you right there how good of a ball player, you know, we're talking about.
And you might be asking yourself, well, what's the big deal about taking a catcher? Number 1, there haven't been many of them.
Mm-mm.
The last one was Joe Mauer, and I think Minnesota was quite happy with their selection.
Yeah, you can't complain about that.
No. I mean, he was the face of that franchise for years. Now, getting into our next little bit of conversation is, would you keep him behind the plate?
For me, no. It's the thing. When you have a player as special as the way it sounds that this kid's going to be, as far as being able to hit on both sides of the plate,
yes,
hitting 400 in college, you know, double-digit home runs, you know, when you have a player of that caliber, you can prolong his career so much by keeping him out from behind the plate. You know, when you're a catcher, it's so hard on your knees. And the thing is with catchers is you're not out there every single night. You know that you have to have your days off. You have to get out from behind the plate. You have to have your days off. So if you have a player of that caliber that can hit like that, why not make him a first baseman? Why not make him a corner outfielder? So that way he's out there every single night playing. Yeah. Because you want to have that bat in the lineup all the time. So to me, keeping him at catcher is doing more harm than good for him, and throughout his entire career. And
even, you know, I kind of mentioned, I teased the Bryce Harper thing for a reason, because even when he was in junior college, he was a catcher and an outfielder.
Yep.
And we see which avenue that went. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, I don't want him back there just for like you said, the wear and tear. Mm-hmm. Not only physically, but mentally. You got to, you know, you have how many pitchers you're dealing with. You need to know what they throw, get the scouting reports, get the game plan together. As a first baseman, I'd much rather just you point.
Well,
go over there.
The thing with catchers for me is every offseason you can find plenty of catchers that can be an above average backstop, have an above average arm, and maybe bat you 240, 250. But do what they're there for. What you're paying them for is to handle their pitching staff, throw out runners, That's what they're there for. And if they batch at 250, 260, that's a plus.
Which, getting back to the Cubs, they have 2 catchers in Contreras and Caratini that are 300 hitters with power. So, yeah, the Cubs are pretty set as far as catching goes.
Well, but you don't see that all the time. Most of the time with catchers, you're seeing them batting somewhere below 250, 240. That's where but that's not their job. Their job is they're going to they're going to handle the pitching staff. They're going to handle everything on the defensive side of the ball. And if they bat above 250, that's a plus. That's that's just a plus for them. So, but with a guy, when I'm using my first pick of a draft, if that guy's going to bat 300 from both sides of the plate, I want him out there every single night. I want him healthy all the time. I'm putting him at a first base, a less strenuous position, even if right field, left field, whatever you want to throw him in. He's been catching, and he's throwing out runners at I want to say at the college level, he was like somewhere just right around 50% as far as throwing out runners.
Amazing.
That tells me he's got a great arm. Yeah. Why not make him a corner outfielder? Yeah. Outfielders with a great arm.
And he's, what did he say? He was a junior?
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably, 21?
Yep.
So to me, it would be an easier transition to do that right out the gate. And one of the people that they're comparing him to is Buster Posey. Where the Giants tried to do that midway through his career. And as much as I'm a Buster Posey fan, I've always have been ever since he was with Florida State.
I'm a fan of anybody that can catch and can still bat 300 and can hit you over 20 bombs. And that's what Buster Posey did in his prime.
Now the injuries are catching up with him.
And that's the problem.
His bat's slowing down.
It's the same. And you never really had the power numbers with Mauer, but you always knew that Mauer was going to bat over 300 for you.
330.
But when did all that stop? At the tail end of his career, because he wasn't healthy anymore, and that's when they slid him over to first base to take the pressure off him, especially after Morneau left there. That made it easier to make that transition. But
I think if you can be a Gold Glove catcher, you can be a Gold Glove first baseman.
Absolutely,
hands down.
Absolutely.
Both of them have very similar. You need to have great footwork in both of them. So, yeah, I have which. And for those of you that don't know, the Orioles had the first pick. I don't know if we mentioned that or not. And kind of the cool thing with the Orioles is, well, probably not if you're an Orioles fan, but they have a lot of holes. Mm-hmm. That's a very bad team. So it's not like you're, for instance, the Red Sox, the Yankees, where they draft you. They need a catcher, so they draft a catcher. No, the Orioles need a shit ton of things.
Yeah.
So do what's best for the kid. Get as much out of him as you can and set him up for the longest, most successful career he can have. And I think you and I can both definitely agree that is not behind the plate. All right, so we've talked the news. We've given you we went pretty in depth with this draft talk, didn't we?
That's our niche. I mean, that's what we like to talk about.
So. But you know what, like you said, there's 40 rounds. We could probably do 6 weeks of this shit. So, but one thing I did want to touch on, and it's one of the groups that I'm in for on Facebook. They put up a picture of Bo Jackson, and the question was posed, and it was just for baseball, obviously just for baseball, and they were asking, is Bo Jackson a Hall of Famer? And I had to read the question twice because, as everyone knows, Bo Jackson was probably, and I'm not going to say probably, and 2Ks can probably attest to this, is in our lifetime probably the greatest athlete I've ever seen. He's the only one to ever make an All-Star game in baseball and the Pro Bowl in football. So the people in this group posed the question, is Bo Jackson a Hall of Famer? And I mean, obviously right out the gate we all know, or if you don't Google it, you should know, because if you call yourself a sports fan and don't know the Bo Jackson story, well, you need to bone up on your shit, because get on my level. But Bo had the hip injury as and a couple others that really limited his career. And just to kind of give you Baseball stats. He had a career batting average of 250. Granted, where's the games at? It doesn't have how many games he played. But he had almost 2,400 at bats, almost 600 hits, 141 home runs, 415 RBIs, and 82 stolen bases. And you might say to yourself, well, Turb, Jesus Christ, with those fucking stats? Are you kidding me? After we talked about Dustin Pedroia last week, you're coming at me with this shit? And it's not... You'd be hard-pressed to tell me when Bo was playing in his heyday that there was a more electric player to watch. And when I see Bo Jackson, I see him as a Royal. Mm-hmm. Not the two other teams that the Angels, I think it was his last one.
Angels and White Sox.
Yeah, to me that wasn't Bo Jackson. The Bo Jackson I knew and saw and loved was a Royal, and I'm sure most if you grew up in that time, one of the I can't remember if it was a baseball or a football card, but one of the cards you wanted was Bo Jackson. It was a black and white card. And he had his football pads on with his arms over a bat. That was the fucking card you wanted. And how many Bo-Nose fucking commercials did they do? And the man is... Now, not to get too far off topic, but the thing in my mind is, well, no, he's not a Hall of Famer. There's not enough longevity. And... one of the guys in that commented on the picture in the Facebook group kind of put it very uniquely, and I think I'm going to steal it, is that, in 2Ks, you're going to agree with me, when you have a stud, a Mike Trout, he's got all five tools. Well, if you throw a sixth tool in there, which is health and longevity, Bo had all the other five. Mm-hmm. He just didn't have enough time to show everyone. And I'm talking football and baseball. So, in my opinion, with the resume that he put together, unfortunately, no, he's not. And, we talked about the Hall of Very Good last week. I don't even put him in that.
No. And it's all because of longevity. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. If Bo was healthy... it's hard. It's because if you say that he's healthy, then you're still kind of predicting, because unfortunately we weren't able to see a long career in either one of them.
Well, if Ken Griffey Jr. could have stayed healthy, he probably could have hit 800 home runs.
Probably could. So it's hard to predict that. Mm-hmm. But that's what it all comes down to, and that's why I can't. Because there's a very good chance that we could be talking about if he would have been healthy, if he would have just picked one.
Yeah.
Like, if he would have just been a baseball player, he probably could be in the MLB Hall of Fame, especially with how easy it is to get into that Hall of Fame. But that's a different story. But if he would have just picked the NFL, he probably could be in the NFL Hall of Fame. That's how good of it. He's maybe, I shouldn't even say maybe, I think he is probably the best athlete of all time.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably go back to, like Jim Brown and Jim Thorpe and all that other... Mm-hmm. But as far as our lifetime's concerned, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? All the haters are going to say, well, Turb, what about fucking Dion?
It wasn't even close.
Dion is a Hall of Fame corner. Mm-hmm. He was probably the first, lockdown corner. Like, you didn't want to throw it Dion's way.
No.
And on top of that, he was a returner. Mm-hmm. He was electric. Anytime he had the ball in his hands, he was electric. And you're a Cowboy fan. Mm-hmm. So... you're probably loving every minute of prime time.
Absolutely.
But as far as baseball goes, he was an average.
Yeah, he was fast.
Yeah,
he was fast. He got on base, and you knew he was going to steal bases for you, and that's what. But he wasn't. See, Bo was the kind of guy, was a middle of the lineup batter, and he was also one of the best running backs in the NFL at the time that he was playing. If it wasn't for injury, you're talking about a possible Hall of Famer in two different sports. Well, there's not a lot of guys that you could go out and pull out on a limb and say, oh, he can be a Hall of Fame basketball player and be a Hall of Fame football player, or he could be a Hall of Fame baseball or Hall of Fame. You just can't do that with a lot of guys.
Right.
With Bo, you could if it wasn't for the injuries.
And I pulled up, just to kind of, because I was curious, pulled up Deion Sanders. It's baseballreference.com. And kind of, let me see here. Let me switch back to Bo. Bo, even his short career, now granted, towards the end, Deion said bye-bye to baseball and just focused on football. Bo had 2393 at bats. Deion had 2123. 558, 39 home runs, batting average of 263. If you're batting 263 as a center fielder these days, or even back in the 90s when he was hot with Atlanta, I think more or less the reason Deion grabbed so much pub was his attitude,
yes,
his flair. He was fast. He had commercials. He was
exciting.
Prime time.
He was exactly. He was prime time. He was exciting. He was what, I'm a Cowboys fan. When him in Dallas, I mean, that's seeing him taking back kicks and holding the ball. The way that he would hold the ball when he was returning, and it was
do
just
that little dance across the fucking the goal line.
Yes,
and
he was exciting,
styling and profiling, wearing those fucking chains, his Jerry curl blazing, big ass sunglasses.
But he did that on the football field, and I remember watching the 30 for 30 with him, and
that was a very good 30 for 30.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Any of you that have not watched that, please do.
But he was asked the question, of why did you go by prime time when you were talking in the NFL and in your press conferences there, but when you were in a press conference in baseball, you went by Deion, and he said, and his answer was fucking perfect, and his answer was, when I was in the major leagues, I was just average. I was maybe even below average, and that's why I went by Deion. But when I was in the NFL,
fucking best there was.
I was the best there was. I was the man. I was prime time, and that was the perfect answer. When he was on the football field, he was prime time.
And I think that's ultimately why he decided, you know what, baseball. Which, granted, looking at here, he played from '89 to Wow, he didn't play at all in 96 or 98 or 99. He played all the way till 2001.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize he played that long. So he played from the age of, 21 to 33. So 12-year career, minus 3 years. So 9 years in the bigs. 9 years in the bigs. Games played 641.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of that falls back on the position too.
Yeah.
It's easier to make that transition being a defensive back from being a running back in the NFL and then stepping foot on a baseball field too. And it all comes, and what hurt Bo in his career, obviously the injuries, but there's a reason for those injuries, and that's you're trying to do too much.
Yeah.
You have
your body can only take so much.
Yes, if he just picks one, if he picks baseball, if he picks football, there's a very good chance we're talking about a Hall of Famer in whatever sport that he would have chose.
I'll go above and beyond the Hall of Famer. I'll say probably one of the best ever, all around.
Absolutely.
Player in either sport. In either sport. And because that was when Bo broke through, that was pretty much when did he start? When was his rookie year? 86. Mm. So I was born in 80, so that was pretty much like right when my baseball fandom started to hit. I remember when I first started collecting cards was in 86. So that was right in my wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. And granted, he had a very brief cup of coffee, if you will. He played 25 games as rookie in 86. Then 87, he never played more than 135 games, which was in 89. Which that's the year he was an All-Star and the All-Star MVP.
Mm-hmm. He's the only person in history to be an All-Star in two different sports. So I mean that's a hell of an accomplishment. When you think about that, to be an All-Star in the best of the best on a baseball field and also be an All-Star in the best of the best on a football field, that's impressive. That's no matter what happened and the injuries that takes away from his entire career. To be able to fall back on that's a hell of an accomplishment that only he is the only one that can say that for himself.
And now, I mean, he's probably he's probably made more money being an entrepreneur now than he ever made in sports. So, Bo, hats off to you, my friend. We know you're a fan of the show, so we got your back. We love you, but you're not a Hall of Famer.
No,
you're not.
Long-time listener, but not a Hall of Famer.
Which I wanted to wrap this conversation up and probably the show because we're getting to that 1 hour mark here with this. And I asked the question to you because you have 3 kids. I have none. But to me, this kind of goes to show that you can have your kids in more than one sport.
Oh yeah.
You should, and this is my opinion. Just growing, I mean, because I grew up playing. My stellar basketball career stopped at my freshman year. I gave the reins to Adam Zeed and Chad Green and said, "You know what, boys, take this team and just run with it." And thankfully, they took my advice and did, because the 98 basketball team's in the Marcellus Hall of Fame. So, you know what, I left it in good hands.
Yes,
I left it in good hands. But I played baseball since the time I was able to play. 8 years old, because we didn't have t-ball and shit when I was back in my day. I tried playing football one year. That really wasn't my thing. Played soccer probably since I think I started when I was 9 or 10. And soccer I played into my early 20s, playing pickup games and leagues at Soccer Zone, so indoor. And baseball, of course, my stellar, illustrious career ended at Marcellus High School, but I played on and off, slow pitch softball and everything. But there are, in my opinion, if you have someone that can be, that can excel in more than one sport, absolutely let them do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. I mean, this is the thing that you're only in high school for 4 years, so to basically tell a kid that to break down one sport, this is your favorite sport, this is the sport that you want to go play at the next level. You only get this time for such a short amount of time. Take advantage of it. Play all the sports. Every single sport has its benefits that you're going to pull
Absolutely.
out of it. I look back at for myself, baseball was my favorite sport. That was probably, with exception of maybe golf, that was probably the sport that I was the best at. And baseball is the sport that
I've seen you golf. So hopefully you played baseball better than golf.
Well, I mean, and baseball is the sport that I went to college to play. Yep. So that it was obviously that was my favorite. That was the one that I focused on the most.
Put the most work in.
Yes, but there was so many. I played football. I played soccer. I played basketball. I played them all. And there was something good that I took out of everything. I look back at when I was in high school, I never played soccer. But growing up, being younger, I grew a lot, and I was 6'1" when I was an 8th grader in middle school. So obviously, when you grow that much at one time, your feet aren't going to grow with you. So you're going to be
like a baby giraffe.
Yes, you're going to be slow. You're going to be uncoordinated. And if it wasn't for that time being 12, 13, 14 years old and playing soccer, I don't know how long it would have taken me to get that coordination, to be able to play shortstop like I did, and to be able to move left and right and cover ground. Or same thing as far as playing, because I was a pretty good basketball player. Playing basketball, soccer is what gave me my footwork to be able to do everything on the basketball court. And I look
conditioning
back,
and longevity.
Yes. And in high school, my main 3 sports that I played were football, basketball, baseball. I was a very good baseball player. I was a very good basketball player. I was maybe, I don't even know if you could call me an average football player. It just wasn't my sport. But what did football teach me? It taught me toughness. It taught me to be tougher. It taught me the difference between being hurt and being injured, because there is a difference. When you're injured, you can't play. When everybody in every sport, anybody that's an athlete, you're going to get hurt. Yep. But you can play through being hurt. You can't, when you have an injury, when you have a torn ACL, when you have a broken bone, that's when you're injured. That's when you can't play. But because you have a bruise or something like that, that's
Rub some
just
dirt
being
on
hurt. You play through it.
Rub some dirt on it.
Absolutely. I encourage kids coming up, play every sport, play it all. When you get to your senior year, if you and you have something, that's a definite lock, where I'm going to play college for whatever sport. Yeah. Maybe then that's when you want to start to reel it in and focus on that. But throughout your lifetime, play it all. There's so many benefits that you get from every single sport, not only just being an athlete, but so many benefits that you get just in character, and so many things that you learn from sports that help you in your everyday life after you graduate, when you go and you get a job, when you have a family. There's so many good things about sports, and just the biggest thing that I throw to everybody is play it all, enjoy it, have fun. That's what it's all about.
And I'm 100% behind you. I know there's a lot of folks that are like, well, Turb, we can only afford it for our kids to play one. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely fine. What we're saying is don't push your kids to specialize in one sport. Let them be a jack of all trades. You know, there's a reason why Swiss Army knives are so sought after, because they do fucking everything.
And even going to as far as, I get it. I understand that the pay to play, the cost of playing can be a dweller on a lot of families, but
especially if you have multiple kids.
Yes, absolutely. And when playing the travel ball and all that, that is so costly. But that's the nice thing about high school sports is very rarely do you have to pay anything. Right. Get involved in it, play. There's so much to learn from it.
Make sure to get your physical first.
Yes.
Make sure to get your physical first. But no, that to me that was kind of, we here at Turbo and 2Ks, we're not only obviously hilarious, informative, but we do like to bring some everyday kind of shit into which this is sports related, but it's not shit that we see on TV. I mean, this is shit that happens every day. And yeah, I think you're limiting your kids. You're kind of putting blinders on them almost. And when you're just telling them, all right, well, you're very good at this sport. We're only going to focus on this. And I look back at it and like, man, I might not have a love of baseball that I do if my parents told me I could only play baseball. I'd probably get bored with it. Well, I'd probably get frustrated.
Yes, and even going through, I played at the next level. It was only junior college. It's not like it's all that much to brag about, but I played at the next level.
You did more than most folks.
And I got an idea of what coaches look at, and let me tell you, coaches look at that kind of stuff. College coaches, they like those athletes that can play multiple sports. They're not looking, for someone that's just locked in on one sport. If you're able to play multiple sports, that just tells them that you're a better athlete.
Well, that if you look at it socially too, I mean, my graduating class was 63. Were there some, crossovers between the dudes I played basketball with, the dudes I played soccer with, and the dudes I played baseball with? Yeah, but not. I don't think any of them. I was the only one that played all three. I'm almost positive. Now, there was a lot of dudes that played baseball, basketball, and football. Those dudes kind of, but it brought me into a different social circle in each sport. So you're dealing with different personalities, different situations, and different leadership. How do you fit into this? So, which I think that has a lot to do with, now my professional life, where I can kind of fit into almost any situation. Is it comfortable sometimes or uncomfortable sometimes? Yeah. But you get me into a room with a lot of folks, I'll find someone to talk to, and I'll make it comfortable. And I think that has a lot to do with, and especially me in particular, you throw band in there, that's a whole other group of folks. There's a handful of us that played soccer together. I don't think Adam Zeed played baseball and basketball with me that was in the band. So yeah, there's a little, little influx, but for the most part, you're dealing with more. And, I know this day and age, like, hazing isn't a thing, or it shouldn't be a thing. Well, back when I was in high school, there was hazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There was hazing, and I was one of the few that never got it. Never got it, no matter what sport it was. I mean, granted, probably had I played football, talking to a lot of the kids in my that I graduated with, probably would have happened from the seniors. But baseball-wise, no. Obviously, soccer, no. Even band, or even just walking around the high school, day-to-day life, there was none of that. And I think that just comes from interacting with people. And, you know, I was friends with some dude like Matt Bolby was one of the ones that I was going into the locker room for, I was lifting weights after school or something, and football was going on, and I was a freshman, and I knew Matt because he was in the band. Mm-hmm. So I walked in and people were kind of giving me a hard time, and everyone used to call him Curly Possum. And they said, Curly walked in, he goes, this dude, nope, hands off. And it was just because of that. Mm-hmm. And so I guess to kind of wrap it up is don't limit your kids. No. If you can financially afford it, and I mean, there's a lot of times, you know, even with my brother, him and his wife, they have 3 kids, 3 different directions, 3 different locations usually. So, I mean, my grandparents, my parents help them out as much as they can, as well as his wife's. So if you can swing it and if you can do it, by all means, because your kids are going to, in my opinion, turn out to be even more, that doesn't make it, even better adults. Mm-hmm. Let's put it that way. Absolutely. Not even more better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We try to throw some language arts in there real quick, but because that almost fell out of my mouth. I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. So, well, Mr. 2Ks, do you have anything you want to bring up so we can wrap this mother up?
Nope. We're all set.
All right. So, yeah. Get at me if you guys need any more information about these golf outings, because I'd be more than happy. Actually, I will post the Modern Outing flyer when I get it. I'll post the other flyer in the group. Check him out. My boy Josh I met him in college, and he's absolutely amazing. And boy, we had some drunk nights. So he took the time to reach out to me, and I told him if nothing else, I will at least shout this out, and we'll give you updates when I get updates for both of them. So keep tuned for that. And I think we covered it all. Mm-hmm. I think we covered it all. I mean, we could deep dive into this, but we'd be 3 or 4 hours deep, and I'm pretty sure most people don't want to listen to us talk 3 or 4 hours unless you're Melissa Jackson.
If we talk about a little bit more dick, that's what I heard.
Hey, you know
that's
what?
What you want.
We got to talk about dicks every week. So we there you go, Melissa. We gave your dick fix for the week.
Yeah, I got an excuse. I got an out with my wife now when I get home, and she's like, "Why did it take you so long?" Well, we had to cover some more dicks for Melissa. So,
hey, you know what? We're taking one for the team, Melissa. All right, well, 2K crew, we're gonna get out on that. You guys have a great week. Hopefully the weather stays like this, so it's actually fucking summer. Today, I put my winter coats in another closet, so hopefully I don't have to bring them out for a while. So, get out, mow your yard, tend your garden, watch it. There's a lot of sports wrapping up, so get out to the pool, enjoy Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is probably one of the best things about this fucking state, so go take advantage of that. And while you're on your way to Lake Michigan, put us on. We'll get you all fired up. Have a great week, folks. I'm Turbo. This is 2Ks. Jim Rome. We're coming for you.